Hello KeenGamers and welcome to another review. This time we have the GK96S mechanical keyboard from Epomaker. So let's get started. Now the first thing to talk about in terms of the design of this keyboard is its unique 96 key layout. Where TKL keyboards sacrifice productivity and full-sized keyboards sacrifice your desk space, the GK96S sacrifices nothing and is essentially the best of both worlds. You basically have the functionality of a full-sized keyboard in a body that's barely larger than a standard TKL. It does this by trimming all the spacing you'd usually find between the alpha cluster, arrows, numpad and function keys, mushing them all together to achieve the compact form factor. The case here is made out of a single piece of high quality plastic with no embellishments or standout design features. On the back left side you simply have the Type-C connection port, and underneath you have the riser feet with 2 levels of elevation. Now, even though the case is made out of plastic, the keyboard still weighs a substantial 953 grams due to the metal switch plate and the 4000 mAh battery used for wireless connectivity. Despite that, the weight here is well distributed and the entire thing feels rock solid, so it's still perfectly viable to be carried around with you. Now, this version of the keyboard came with these stylish white, black and orange PBT keys, but you also have a $10 cheaper ABS version. In both cases, they feature Epomaker's own GK1 profile, where the corners of the keys are elevated so your fingers actually sink into the key, which makes them highly ergonomic and very pleasant to type on. This is even more so thanks to the excellent pre-lubed stabilizers that made the keyboard all but rattle-free. Seriously, you can shake it till you break it, but you won't get it to produce a single jittery sound. There's probably some dampening going on here, but it's probably also the fact that the GK1 keys are around 20% shorter than regular high-profile keycaps, also keeping them in line with the whole being compact philosophy. With that said, you can still fit other keycaps onto the switches, but keep in mind that full sets might not work because a couple of keys to the right of the spacebar, like function, control and shift, are a bit shorter than what is the standard. Besides the color and keycap variants, Epomaker also gives you a choice of your preferred gate-around switch. Our review unit came with linear and fairly silent black ones, but for me feels appropriate for the type of user this keyboard is going for. One that will use it for both productivity and gaming. While they aren't your top-of-the-line gamer switches, combining them with the excellent feel of the GK1 keycaps makes for a golden middle ground that for me made them very enjoyable to use for whichever purpose. If that doesn't tickle your fancy, the great news is that the switches are hot swappable, so you can always exchange them for something that will be more in line with your needs and preferences. Of course, it wouldn't be much of a keyboard review if we didn't have a sound test, so here's a bit of that for you as well. The last thing to mention about the design is that the keycaps aren't backlit, so you won't have RGB shining through the legends, and this is something you'll either like or dislike depending on your taste. For me, not having backlit keycaps is actually preferred with these types of enclosed keyboard cases because it makes the lights appear brighter and effects just a tad more beautiful to look at. Speaking of effects, there are plenty of them available here, some of which you can cycle with a keyboard shortcut and others fully customizable through the software, which I'll talk about a bit later. Now, when it comes to performance, the standout feature here is that besides having a standard wired mode, you also have 5.1 Bluetooth connectivity, so you can use the keyboard with a variety of different devices. The switch between the two is effortless, and you can use the keyboard in wired mode on your PC and switch to your laptop or mobile with a simple press of a Bluetooth pairing shortcut. As you'd expect from Bluetooth 5.1, the connection is rock solid, and the experience of using a fully featured keyboard on multiple devices can't be matched by on-screen inputs or low-profile laptop keyboards. As I mentioned previously, much of the weight here comes from the substantial 4000 mAh battery that's going to power the Bluetooth wireless mode. In my testing, the battery could handle around 2 full days of Bluetooth wireless with RGB lights turned on, and it went for a substantial week and a half without them. Suffice it to say that this was a great result, especially if you're a fan of the minimal and don't believe that blasting RGB on everything makes you a better gamer. With that said, Bluetooth connection won't be ideal for serious competitive gaming, but you won't have an issue using it with more casual, single-player experiences. The already substantial customization options are further boosted by the accompanying CMS engine software. With it, each and every key on the keyboard can be remapped to do something else or light up with a different RGB effect. You can also create macros, and the software even has some pre-made for games like League of Legends, Dota 2, Overwatch and PUBG. As mentioned, there's also a literal ton of RGB effects and presets that are really well made and reproduce smoothly across the keys. There is one problem, however, and that's the really awful and convoluted user interface that will have you scratching your head as to how to do most of the things I just listed. The software is really robust in terms of what you can do with it, especially in terms of macros, different layers and key customization, but it's so unintuitive in comparison to what other manufacturers have on offer, and you'll need to play around with it a lot before it becomes second nature. All in all, Epomaker GK96S is one seriously awesome keyboard for both the casual user and even you keyboard enthusiasts out there. The biggest draw here is the unique layout that essentially gives you a full keyboard in a body the size of a standard TKL. The keyboard does come at a somewhat of a high price of $109, but when you consider all the extras like Bluetooth connectivity, reliable gate-around switches, hot swapping, a beautiful color scheme, and a really robust software, you actually find that it offers much more than the competitors at this price range and is absolutely worthy of your every cent. If you like what you've seen in this video, the product link will be included in the description down below. And also, don't forget to like and subscribe to KeenGamer for more reviews just like this one.